Bernie Sanders, independent senator from Vermont. You have decided you will not go to hear a speech from the visiting prime minister of Israel. It's pretty unprecedented, isn't it?
Yes.
Has that ever happened before? A prime minister of Israel comes to the United States and a group of Democrats or Republicans, for that matter, decide to boycott the leader of a friendly Democratic ally?
I think you're right. That is unprecedented.
Why have you decided, Senator, that it would be best, from your perspective, to not go and sit in the chamber, sit in the House of Representatives, and at least give him the courtesy of hearing out what he has to say?
Well, a couple of reasons, Wolf. The first and most important is everybody knows, constitutionally and in precedent, the President of the United States of America, whether he is a Democrat or Republican, is the leader of this country in foreign policy. That's a fact. The idea that Speaker Boehner would politicize foreign policy to the degree of not even consulting with President Obama about Netanyahu's visit is, to me, extremely unfortunate.
But that's the speaker. You want to blame Netanyahu for what the speaker did?
Mr. Netanyahu is a fairly sophisticated politician. And I think he could have picked up the phone and said, you know what, Speaker Boehner has invited me, Mr. President. We want to work closely with you. How do you feel about it? That call was never made. Second point, and you just made it. Right now in Israel, there's a very hard-fought election. It's not certain that Netanyahu's party will win. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I do not like the idea that 2 weeks before an election in a foreign country, the prime minister there running for re-election is using U.S. Congress as a prop and a photo opportunity for his re-election. That's wrong.
He spoke on the sensitive issue. He was speaking at AIPAC earlier today. I'm going to play a little clip. Listen to what he said.
The last thing that anyone who cares about Israel, the last thing that I would want, is for Israel to become a partisan issue. And I regret that some people have misperceived my visit here this week as doing that.
Has Israel become a partisan issue?
Look, when you have a very partisan Congress and the Speaker invites Mr. Netanyahu without speaking to the President of the United States, of course it's a partisan issue, and I think Mr. Netanyahu understood that.
And do you think that the idea for this speech before a joint meeting of the U.S. Congress was Speaker Boehner's idea or the Prime Minister of Israel's idea?
I have no idea, but they're both big boys, and they both understand that the leader of this country in foreign policy is the President of the United States. And the other issue, Wolf, that concerns me very much, of course, underlying all of this, is the very difficult negotiations with Iran to make certain that Iran does not get a nuclear weapon. And, you know, I get a little bit upset that we have some politicians who try to be very tough on foreign policy. You know, it's good politics to stand up to Iran. And I would remind those people, they were tough in the war in Iraq and tough with Saddam Hussein, and it led to the worst foreign policy blunder in the modern history of the United States of America. The president is trying to negotiate a very difficult situation to see that Iran does not get a nuclear weapon.
So when Netanyahu says that for the U.S. it's a matter of security, but for Israel it's a matter of survival, you say
that the president has made it clear, and I think virtually every member of Congress supports the concept that Iran will not get a nuclear weapon. But you know what? I want to see us do that without having to go to war. A war in Afghanistan, a war in Iraq is enough for me.
I don't remember a time when so many members of Congress, like you, supporters of Israel, Jewish members of Congress, members of the Congressional Black Caucus, former chairman of the Democratic Party, Senator Tim Kaine, have decided to boycott a speech by a visiting prime minister of Israel. How do the Israelis fix this?
I think it will be fixed. Look, I think from day one, from the establishment of Israel as a state, there has been overwhelmingly strong bipartisan support for Israel. I think that that will continue. I am simply upset that Speaker Boehner made this a political issue when it should not have been.
One final question. I know you're thinking of running for the Democratic presidential nomination this time. Your decision to go ahead and boycott this speech by the visiting prime minister of Israel, how has that impacted politically? What's been the reaction you're getting?
I have no idea how it plays out politically. In my state, there are some people who have written and called and supported, and some people do not.
Is it leaning one way or the other?
No.
More positive or more negative to your decision?
I think it's pretty equally divided.
Really? But you're getting some criticism.
We're getting some support, and we are getting some criticism.
But you're willing to take the heat, is it?
Yes.
Wouldn't be the first time Senator Bernie Sanders takes the heat. Thanks very much for coming in.
My pleasure.
So what do Americans